You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Baachu, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Nicole Gorman. Nicole is a proposal professional with 5+ years of experience working with teams to think, act strategically to win more business. She's motivated by overcoming pursuit challenges through close collaboration with others. She works hard to establish trust to her teams. Together, they'll tell the right story that results in favorable business outcomes for her company and beyond. Nicole is an APMP Foundation certified 2020 APMP 40 Under 40 award winner and is also communications chair for the APMP Liberty Chapter. Welcome, Nicole, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you, Nicole. Nicole, let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born? And let's talk about your high school and education.
Yeah. So I was born in Connecticut. I went to Amity High School, born and raised Connecticut. So as soon as I graduated high school, I went straight to UConn. And I still live here. So I guess I really like Connecticut.
Got it. So born and brought up. What's unique about Connecticut then?
I think because it's so close to many major cities. I think about this often, why I haven't moved somewhere warmer yet, but I think it's because it's close to Boston, it's close to New York, it's close to Providence. So if you want to get out of the city, if you want to get out of the state, there's always something going on pretty close.
It's like you're not really in the city, but you're close to the city and get the best of both the...
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. New York's a little too much for me, a little too busy, but I feel like Connecticut and Stamford, which is just outside, it's just right.
Got it. That's interesting. So high school and education, what was your very first job that you took? Was it during part-times during university days or anything that comes to your mind?
Yeah, so I was actually, my very first job was as a cashier when I was in high school, and I did that every single weekend. And then when I was in college, I started waitressing, and I've worked my entire life. So having a job was really, really important for me at school. And I remember I had no restaurant experience besides being a cashier, but I drove up to UConn when I was still a senior in high school, because I had started looking at the job board and I started to apply to things. And so I drove up there. It was about an hour away from my hometown. And I interviewed with the restaurant, and they wanted like 2 years of experience, which was kind of crazy for someone who's just, in college. But anyway, I remember driving up there and I was like, they were like, do you have any experience? What year are you? And I was like, well, I'm still a senior in high school. And they were like, you drove all the way up here and you're still in high school? And I was like, yep. And they were like, you have the job. You can start this fall. And so I worked there. It was the on-campus restaurant. I worked there for all 4 years. I met a lot of really cool people doing that just because it was the on-campus restaurant. So any guest speakers that came to the university, they usually got their meal comped at our restaurant. So they always came in. And basketball players, other student athletes, coaches, all that good stuff. So it was a great job to have in college. And then after college, I started getting into journalism and proposals.
Wow. So what was the degree in college that you took?
Journalism and political science. I was a dual major.
Journalism and political science, is it?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, oh my God, that's a very, very unique topic. Was that you always wanted to be a journalist?
Yeah. So I always wanted to be a writer. In high school and when I was younger, I didn't really have a lot of extracurriculars. I was always involved in like the academic things, but I wasn't an athlete or anything like that. So the one thing that I was good at and that I always knew I could count on was writing. I enjoyed writing essays. I enjoyed writing academic papers. I enjoyed finding content and figuring out what to do with it. So it just seemed like, well, if you like writing, what do you do? Journalism. So I did that. for my degree, but then I also wanted to, because at the time, that was when the journalism profession was having that discussion of like, we can't just be journalism, you should do something else so you're more well-rounded. And that's where the political science came in to give me that more well-rounded degree.
Got it. I think you're right. I think journalist writing versus political policy making, they might go hand on hand, but that's good. So once you finished your degree, what was your very first job after your degree?
So my very first job after my degree was content writing. I was content writing for a couple of individuals who bought a bunch of websites. Okay. And they needed people who could write various content for the various websites. And so that was a pretty interesting job because I wrote a lot of really interesting different content.
Got it. So journalism, political science, content writing, what brought you inside the proposal world?
Yes. So I was doing the content writing for probably like 4 years, but it was mostly a freelance position. So I was full-time, but I was technically a contractor, and it just didn't seem like it was something that I could do for a lot longer. I ended up actually getting more into education content writing through that job. And so I was doing some education writing and I wasn't really sure what to do next. So I had actually studied for the GRE. I had this idea in my head that I was going to go to grad school, and I was thinking that the next step would be public policy, having the political science background, being really into education, politics. And I was really interested in like education advocacy. There's so much in that world that if you can, that's just very inspiring. There's a lot of inspiring individuals working in the profession, and I thought maybe that's something that I could spend the rest of my life doing. And so I took my GRE. I was about ready to send in my grad school application and just 2 years dedicate myself to that path. And then I got an email or a message in my LinkedIn from a recruiter for a company called CDW. And in that message, the recruiter said, would you be interested in interviewing for a proposal specialist position? No idea what that was, but it was writing and it was education. It was for the higher education market at CDW. So it sounded like it was up my alley. And I hadn't worked in a business or a corporate environment before, but it sounded interesting. And so I figured I would just go for it. And that's another thing that, very early on in my career, I decided if an opportunity presents itself, you might as well just see it through, see what it is, go talk to the person, figure out if it's a fit for you. So I did. So I went, interviewed for CDW. I remember on my way to my interview, I was furiously looking up the acronyms, what is RFP, what is, RFI, trying to familiarize myself with this. I had no idea. And I went into the interview. I, obviously got along really well with my future boss, and I took the position. And ever since, that was, I think, 5 years ago now, 4.5. And ever since then, I just took off with it.
Nice. So what was the very first proposal you wrote, and do you have any memories out of it?
Yeah, so my first proposal was actually a good story, so I'm glad you asked that. It was I was very green, very new to the profession, pretty much no idea what I was doing. I was at the point where I was working for an 8,000 person company, but I was sending out emails with my documents named Shell, that no one would open their email and know what I was sending. Very, very new, needed a lot of coaching. But the first proposal that I submitted was for a higher education entity. I think it was Wisconsin, very small, looking for IT hardware. And I was very nervous, but I got it together. I sent it out, and then 3 days later, we found out we won it. And I just remember the whole team was really? Your first proposal, and 3 days later, you already have a win? it was pretty funny and also great, because once I had that first win, I was like, okay, I want more.
So from the bid that you have submitted for the very first time, is there any other memories? 5 years now, I'm sure you would have done a lot more proposals from it. Any other memories comes up?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think before we got together today about, there's just so many different memories. I mean, one that really stands out is there was a really big priority proposal that we had when I was working one of my first proposal jobs. It was in the state of Florida. I traveled all the way down to the pre-bid conference. Again, very young, very new to the profession. We had a lot of subcontractors that flew down as well to meet with us for the opportunity. And like, there was just me, who was kind of supposed to be the leader of all of us. So it was really intimidating, but it was also just such great experience. And for that opportunity, actually, it was one of my proudest opportunities, because it was something that we knew was coming. We had partnered with one of our vendors. The solicitation had very, very specific requirements, very specific technical specifications. And we had partnered with this vendor who made all of these promises about their technology, that it was going to meet all of the bid specs, that we were good to go. And about, I want to say, a week before the proposal was due, and mind you, again, knew this proposal was coming. We had been working on it for like 2 months. Huge proposal. Huge opportunity. About a week before the proposal was due, the vendor let us know that actually their technology was in production and they wanted another direction with the specs, and they no longer fit like 80% of the required specifications for the technology. And so we just had a moment of like, what do we do? Do we still submit this proposal, even though we know it's not going to be 100% compliant because one of our technology solutions doesn't meet the specifications? Or do we pivot and, with a week left, try to find a different partner? So we did the latter. With a week left, we decided that we were going to try to work with another partner and put our best foot forward. And it was a crazy week. But it was probably one of the most rewarding weeks of my profession, because we were able to do it. We submitted it on time. And during that week, we had heard from competitive intel that it was a very complicated submission. So there were forms and various local preference requirements and just a lot of stuff that all of the teaming partners had to mobilize together to be responsive to. And so we had to do that all in a week. And we had heard that our competitors were having trouble. Some people had already backed out, but we got ours in, and out of like 70 competitors, 70 bidders, we were one of 3 that were selected to present. We didn't end up winning the opportunity, but it's still one of my proudest moments, because I don't think anyone had expected us to go that far given all the challenges that we faced, but we did. And from that presentation, we ended up winning a lot of residual business just because we presented well. They didn't end up picking our solution, but they ended up being a really good customer of ours after. So we considered it a win, and it was definitely a challenging win, but a good one.
Nice. Sounds like a very, very deep experience for you, but
yeah, definitely.
That's good. That's good. So at what point did you come across APMP as an industry body, and talk us through about your association with Liberty Chapter as well?
Yeah, so I got really lucky when working for CDW. It was already something that CDW prioritized for their proposal professionals. So I'm very grateful to the CDW leadership team for making that decision before I joined. I had it kind of like handed to me. They were like, APMP is very important. We want you to be, we have already gotten you this membership. It's a corporate membership. We want you to be involved. And they recognized it throughout the company as something that if you were involved in, they looked at it favorably. So, if you attended a chapter meetup, or if you were involved in volunteering, or if you wrote an article for the newsletter, it was something that they circulated and congratulated you on. So it instantly, from joining the profession, I thought to myself, wow, this is a good way to be involved, to connect with others, and to be recognized. So I got really lucky, because I know it's not the same since leaving that organization. I know it's not the same everywhere.
Got it. Is Liberty Chapter your closest chapter?
Yep. So I from there I got involved with APMP Liberty. Me and one of my coworkers kind of teamed up and started helping with some of the newsletter content. I started volunteering for different things. I started making connections within the chapter, going to meetups, and that ended up being the foundation for when I would end up nominating to become the communications chair for APMP Liberty.
How long have you been with the APMP Liberty Chapter, and would you like to give any shout outs or any initiatives within the chapter during this COVID period, or before, after, now?
Yeah, so I've been a member for 5 years. I have to give a huge shout out to the entire board. Janet, Kim, Louise, I think those are the board members who were still on the board when I was there, but the new board members as well. I think they do such a great job. They're such a close-knit board of directors, and they, really, really, really strive to give back to the membership base. So all of them. And then, the broader APMP Liberty community too. I got to shout out to everyone, because everyone's just so welcoming. I think when I was involved in the last time we were able to meet in person, right before COVID, so the November before everything happened, we did our annual symposium. We called it the Fall Symposium, and we had 100 members who joined us that day. So in our APMP Liberty is one of the largest geographical locations. We have so many states that we cover, so it's not easy for everyone to get together, but everyone still makes the effort and is interested in meeting up and talking. And APMP Liberty does the virtual coffee breaks every month, and that's always very participated in. So I would just say the chapter as a whole is just such a great thing to be a part of.
Nice. Looks like Liberty Chapter is a cool place to be a member of.
It really is.
And I'm sure there is a lot of member listeners who are listening to this as well. But that's great.
I hope so.
Definitely. We have few of your members who have done training programs with us, and we have few who are currently in the training program with us as well from the Liberty Chapter.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
That's it. So have you attended BitCon or have you presented in any webinars yourself?
Yes, I have attended BitCon. That's also a really good story for me, because when I first joined CDW, I think Bid and Proposal Con New Orleans happened 3 months after I joined. And because CDW had prioritized APMP so much, they had, as part of their membership, I think 2 or 3 tickets to, or packages for the Proposal Con. And when I first joined, their philosophy was, let's send the newest member of the proposal team so that they can have the experience of going to the conference, learning, meeting new people, etc. So within 3 months of joining CDW, I was already elected to go to Bid and Proposal Con New Orleans. So that was pretty cool, because it was a great location. It was an awesome event. Unfortunately, I haven't been to one since, but I would love to go to this year's. As for if I've presented on any webinars, I haven't. It's definitely something I'm interested in. A former peer of mine at PwC and I had been working together on potentially doing something about pitching and collaborating in a virtual environment, given everything with COVID and how us as proposal professionals have had to adapt so quickly, just like everyone else. It was something that we had been considering, but haven't done it yet, but definitely am interested in doing it.
That's great, Nicole. I'm sure, you already have done at this age. I wasn't even aware of APMP, so, and you have already been contributing through your Liberty chapter and setting up all these events and becoming the inspiration for the future generations. That's great. And 40 under 40 2020, it's a very proud moment because I was there like 4 or 5 years ago during the inaugural 2017 APMP 40 under 40. How was the experience, and is there anything you would like to share there?
Yeah, it was an honor to be nominated. It really was. I wasn't really expecting it, so it was just a great highlight of especially because it was during the COVID-19. It was a hard year for everyone. It was just a really nice break in what was otherwise a really stressful year. So I was really appreciative of it. It will be great. I don't know how they're planning on if they're planning on doing something for the upcoming bid and proposal conference, but it would be great to get together with all of the 2020 winners and celebrate our accomplishment at some point in the future.
Definitely. I normally organize a quarterly 40 under 40 gathering, and I haven't done that for this quarter yet. So you have given me the work. So let me pull that together for you, Nicole.
Yes, I would love to participate in the next one. I think that sounds excellent.
Perfect, Nicole. So we talked about your early life career, university, from content writer for websites into leading proposals, and from there to APMP Liberty Chapter 40 under 40. I'm going to pass you on to Ashley, but before I do that, tell us 3 things not many people know about you, Nicole.
Yes, so 3 things. One is that I used to write as part of my first job, writing content for various websites. One of those websites was a celebrity net worth website. So even though I did, pretty much nothing more than researching various websites and doing some of my own math, some of the articles ended up getting really, really, really popular. So in some cases, like for instance, I did the net worth of the cast of the Jersey Shore. So some of those articles made it pretty big, like they were shared on news sources and whatnot. My name wasn't attributed to it, but there's a good chance if you had been interested in a celebrity net worth between the years of like 2015, 2018, you probably read one of my articles. So that's a good fun fact. Definitely not audited, but they were pretty close to the ballpark, I think. The second one is, as a professional writer, I rely a lot on spell check. I feel like everyone just assumes that professional writers are, kind of like savants when it comes to grammar and spelling, but I am not. So definitely use my spell check, definitely do use other grammar tools to help me get by, but it's just not something that as a writer, it's not the one thing that comes most natural to me. I would say the other thing that most people probably don't know about me is that I worked in the restaurant industry. In addition, I've worked in the restaurant industry probably longer than I have in proposals now. And I attribute my restaurant industry beginnings to a lot of the more business-oriented skills that I have now. I would say those are the top 3 things.
Wow.
I had to really think about those.
I'm sure there is many more, and Ashley will dwell deeper on those things. Nicole, don't even worry about that. So I'll leave you in Ashley's hands. Thank you so much for sharing so far.
Of course.
Thank you, Nicole.
Oh my goodness, Nicole, I can totally relate to the spelling thing. I am not a natural speller, and I have to check everything because just not my jam.
Me neither. And it's the worst because a lot of times I have to do screen shares and like share what I'm writing. I feel like people are just like, oh, here's the writer. Like, this is going to be perfect. And you're like fumbling over a basic word. I'm like, Here we go.
I try to blame it on typing too fast.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll have to use that.
So, Nicole, we're so interested in learning a little bit more about you and what you do in your free time. What are the things that you kind of do when you're not working on proposals?
Yeah, so when I'm not working on proposals, I'm an avid reader. I love to read. I'm a nonfiction person though, so a lot of times when I say that, people will be like, "Oh, have you read this with all the fiction titles?" And I'm like, "No, I pretty much exclusively read nonfiction. I really like learning about other people's lives. I think I do love a good story when it comes to, figuring out just like how to connect better with people. I think we do it so on such a different level in our role as proposal professionals. So even outside of when I'm working on proposals, I'm really interested in learning more about better ways to connect with people, to hear their story, and like to transcribe it in different ways. And that's just something that genuinely does interest me. Otherwise, I mean, I do have this dream out there that one day I would like to own my own specialty cocktail business, given my restaurant background. So that's something that I kind of always think about and think about different ways to make that a reality. I spend way too much time in consignment stores. I love a good bargain. I also love clothes. So I feel like I'm just constantly wandering around some store, there's like a cycle that happens because I also sell my clothes. So I feel good about that. I'm like constantly selling and constantly getting new clothes. And then besides that, it's just, trying to maintain the other parts of my life that are important to me, my friendships, my family, and all that good stuff, while balancing a pretty hefty proposal schedule, but I make it work. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, an avid reader, what book is on your nightstand right now?
what book is on my nightstand? Every single time I say that, I always trip myself up because I'm like, what am I reading right now? I think it's because the way I read is so kind of like all over the place. Like I'll start things and I have a Kindle, so I'll like be constantly downloading and reading different things. I think the last thing that I finished was Thinking Fast and Slow. I know that one took forever because it's so long, but I know that's a big one in the business community and business circles because it's a really good insight into the way the brain works. So I'd highly recommend that one.
Oh, awesome. Definitely have to check that one out. So I understand you also like documentaries.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Any interesting ones that you've watched lately, or one of your favorites that you want to share with us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know why not a single one is coming to my head right now. I watch all of the HBO documentaries. So if there's an HBO documentary out there, I'm on it. But usually they're a little morbid. So
okay.
I don't want to. They're just like crime documentaries and stuff like that, or different forays into celebrity lifestyles and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's basically anything HBO is what I'll say.
Nice. And you're a 5 a.m. gym goer? Is that
I
true?
am.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a huge part of my routine. I do every morning. I do Orange Theory Fitness, which is like a 60-minute high intensity workout. And as someone who was never an athlete, I'm amazed that I can keep up with the workout. So I just keep doing it.
Wow, that's awesome. I am not a morning person, so I can't even imagine working out that early.
Yeah, I feel like it really does help me set the right kind of mindset for the day. But with that being said, I'm not an evening person. So once the day, once it gets to a certain point of the day, I'm pretty tired. Pretty tired enough. I feel like I just, I'm just not firing from all cylinders when it gets to a certain point.
For sure. Totally get that. So we're going to pivot into kind of our random rapid fire questions round. We call it the Nutters round after Howard Nutt now. And don't think too hard about these. Quick answers, no right or wrong, just fun and silly. So if you could change one thing about how the human body has evolved, what would it be?
I'd probably say wisdom teeth. They're just such a pain. I agree. I still have that mind. That's why that came to mind.
Yeah. So you said you still have them?
I do. Yeah. It's something
oh
I
probably. Gosh.
I'm just like, ah.
Yeah. What song do you sing only when you are alone, and what memory does it bring back?
Okay, so this is probably lame. Oh, I know it's lame because my friends make fun of me all the time, but I love Red Hot Chili Peppers. I grew up listening to them. I know they always talk about California, but I just love them. So I would say By the Way by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Love it.
Yeah. Just love it.
If you could be an Olympic athlete, in what sport would you compete?
I would say running, because that's pretty much all I can do is just go forward. Forward movement.
Nice. What's the one food you could never bring yourself to eat?
Beets. They smell like, yeah. I know, I wish I could. My boyfriend loves them, but.
What do they smell like to you?
Dirt.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like grass, dirt. I just remember when I was working in Barcelona, one of the restaurants I worked at, they would cut the beets in the back and you would smell up the whole place. Ever since then, I'm like, no beets for me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I bet that is kind of like a traumatizing memory if you can't stand that smell. If you could be a signature cocktail, which cocktail would you be?
I would be, that's a great question. I would be probably a spicy margarita.
Ooh,
because it's nice, layered. It's got a little kick to it, but it's very refreshing.
Love it. If you could become invisible for a day, what would you do?
I don't know. I'd probably go into, if I could be invisible, I'd probably go into all of the closed client meetings that I'd be desperate to learn information about. I don't know what everyone else says or if they make it like proposal related, but that is probably genuinely what I would do.
Yes.
Just so interested in what they're thinking behind the proposal.
Absolutely, right? And when they're evaluating, for sure, what they actually say.
Yes, exactly.
If you were a pirate, what would your pirate name be?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Something with matey in it. That's all I can think of right now.
Okay, love it.
Nicole Matey.
Beautiful. Who haven't you seen or talked to in a while and hope they're doing okay?
I guess I would say probably one of my coworkers from CDW, just because it's top of mind talking about my experience and my career background. And it was also the last time that I worked in an office setting. So I was really close to my proposal team then. Yeah. And love to know how she's doing. So I should probably reach out.
Yeah. If you were attending a Halloween party, what costume would you wear and why?
I'm so uncreative when it comes to Halloween costumes. So I'm just gonna say what's truest to me, and that's a cat. I'm a cat every single year. It's very
Definitely. What product would you seriously stockpile if you found out they weren't going to sell it anymore?
I don't know. Probably Starbucks coffee. I have a Starbucks coffee every single day, and I even keep the iced coffee in my fridge. So that would probably be a huge change in my life if that was not being sold anymore.
Yeah, right. Can you imagine the world without Starbucks?
No, I can't. I cannot. My local Starbucks is closed for renovations, and it's like already, like even that small change is a huge change to my day. So I have to go to one that's a little bit farther, but I do. I'm definitely going to keep going. So
yeah, it doesn't deter you, right?
Yeah, not at all.
So we know you prefer documentaries, but have you ever cried at a movie?
Yeah, I'm a huge sap. I actually just watched the movie Nomadland with Frances. I think her last name is McDermott. But it's on Amazon Prime right now. Highly recommend it, but very sad. Cried
Oh.
through the whole thing, pretty much.
Wow, yeah. They can get to you, those movies sometimes.
Definitely.
So what is the most courageous thing you've ever done?
The most courageous thing. I don't know. I wish I could say something like really brave or like helping other people. I'm sure there's probably something that's out there, but all I can think of right now is going to that pre-bid conference with like 10 of our teaming partners and leading all of our meetings when I was very, very young. Very
Yeah.
new to the profession and just kind of jumping in. That took a lot of courage personally for me. So
Absolutely. If you could be anywhere else in the world right now, where would you be?
somewhere warm,
Mm-hmm.
probably Florida, maybe just because it's easy. But or if I could be anywhere, I still probably would say somewhere California, Florida, close enough, but warm right now. That would be very nice.
Definitely. After, a long winter, some vitamin D never hurts.
Yes, I know. And it feels like it's taking too long to warm up over here in the UK.
For sure. What is one thing that you're not very good at?
One thing I'm not good at, well, spelling.
Right.
And one thing that I would love, I'm organized in a very chaotic way. I get things done, but I gotta say, if you were rating my organizational skills, it'd probably be poor. So probably organization. I'm like the type of person that has my desktop icons everywhere. I was actually just thinking about this, so that's why it's top of mind. I'm like, I have got to get into folders.
Folders are very helpful.
I know.
Oh my goodness. So looking back on your career and your life, who are the people who have been the most influential in both your life and career?
Yes. So this is probably a really standard answer, but definitely my mother. My mom is a very hardworking, career-oriented person who kind of without even saying all of the things she taught me, just taught me how to be a really motivated and hardworking person. So definitely my mother. Other people who influence me are pretty much everyone on my team at CEW. I think of that experience as something that if I didn't have it, I wouldn't be the professional that I am today. So undoubtedly, the whole proposal team, my manager at the time, Victoria, my director at the time, Tara, very, very, very big impact on my life and career. And then the restaurant managers that I had, having that restaurant experience that I had before going into the proposal profession. There's one manager in particular, his name is Bart, and he instilled in me so many, just so much that I still carry forward today about being consistent and listening to others and understanding different opinions. Like he just had a really big role in how he shaped the way I think about things. So definitely him too.
Wow. So many amazing people in your life.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
On a similar note, what have you observed lately that have reminded you that people are good?
There's always moments out there where I think that people won't be understanding or they won't react a certain way, and I'm constantly surprised. So I just joined a new firm, and there are lots of moments where people are very understanding and very helpful that remind me that everyone's just trying to accomplish the same thing, and no one's out to make anyone's lives more difficult than they have to be, and people are generally understanding and good natured.
Yeah, absolutely. So who is the kindest person that you know?
The kindest person that I know, I would have to say my mom again. Being hardworking and motivated, she's in a leadership position for her company, but she still has always instilled in me the need to lead with empathy and to be kind no matter, where you go or what you do, to always lead with that empathetic approach. And she is always doing various things to help others that I try to keep in my mind too, as I, obviously very young in my career, but as I look for new experiences and I look to have some of those leadership skills, I always think about her guidance of leading with empathy.
Wow, she sounds amazing.
Oh, she is. Yeah.
So what is one personal trait that you like most about yourself?
I would say one personal trait is consistency. I'm very consistent. So just like going to the gym every day at 5 a.m., if I say I'm going to do something, I know that I'm going to get it done, and then it helps other people know that they're going to get it done, that I'm going to get it done, because I'm very consistent.
Yeah, that's great.
Consistent with quality, and then consistent with, if I say I'm going to do something, I will do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very reliable, sounds like.
Very reliable. Not always on time, not the best spell checker, but reliable.
So looking back, what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
That burnout is a real thing. I remember when I came in very fast to the profession. As soon as I got into it, from winning that first proposal and everything that's happened since, I've just constantly been going, looking to give back to APMP, get involved in APMP, becoming the communications chair, working for a big 4 firm. I worked for PwC for 2 years in between CDW and where I am now. And because I love it, I sincerely enjoy proposals, and I sincerely enjoy what I do. And because I had that thought of, well, I'm not going to get burnt out because I really like this, and this is something that I really want, I was wrong. Because burnout is a real thing. You can't just keep going at 100 miles per hour and not start to feel like that sense of, can I sustain this? Is this gonna, so I wish I knew that from the beginning, because I probably could have watched for it or looked out for it. I mean, I definitely hit a certain level of burnout over the last year, especially with COVID and everything. And now it's just kind of like a reactive, how do I make sure that I'm not feeling burnt out and that I'm managing the other things that I need to do in my life so that I can continue to bring my best self each and every day. I feel like with burnout, I've learned, stress, it's easier to feel stressed. It's easier to feel unmotivated for things that used to make you feel motivated, or things that you really want to do. And so I'm just trying to, or I did when I was experiencing burnout, really had to take a hard look at how I'm going to keep up with my goals, but realize that I can pace them out. I don't need to constantly be running a marathon.
Yeah, it's such an important point. And as proposal professionals, I think we're so prone to burnout because we can let things get the best of us, because we tend to be so motivated, right? And have lofty goals, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is the best piece of advice that you've received, and who gave that to you?
I have 2. The first one is from when I was talking about some people who inspired me, my restaurant manager, Bart. He would always say when we were doing a shift, if a lot of times during the course of a shift, guests would send back things that were perfectly fine. And in our opinion, they would send back a mahi-mahi and say it was undercooked. And we would look at it and say, oh, that looks like the best piece of mahi-mahi we've ever served. Or we would get a wine that they would say was corked, and it would be brought back, and we would just know that was actually just that vintage. You know what I mean? Like, we would know that vintage was actually perfect totally not corked, but because they didn't like it, it tasted a certain way to them. Mm-hmm. And it would be frustrating. And, we were a young staff, but he would say to us, perception is reality. It's more important that the experience of the people who are dining here, that's part of our mission. The experience is more important than us being right. Mm-hmm. So if they're experiencing that this mahi-mahi is undercooked, for all intents and purposes, it is. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. Let's bring it out. It's more important to us to have their experience be the best that they can remember versus us being right. And so that quote of perception is reality just kind of stayed with me forever. And something is like, what's more important? We could be perceiving different things, whether it's in a proposal or in a meeting or something like that. But if the end goal is that we want to work towards a better product, then sometimes you got to let go of what you're experiencing in that moment. And that's how I do it. And then the second one was more recently. It was when I was at PwC. But someone I worked with used to say very frequently that she didn't want to let perfect be the enemy of good. And that was one that really stuck with me too, because I think a lot of times it's like instinct to want to make proposals so perfect, to want to hold on to drafts or things until they're just a little bit better. But you balancing so many priorities and working on so many things, it's important to remember that sometimes good is just okay, and to recognize when those moments.
Absolutely. Two very good pieces of advice, and that's amazing. Thank you for sharing those with us.
Of course. Thank you.
So Nicole, we're curious, what's next for you? What are you looking forward to in the future?
So I just took a new job. So I'm still doing proposals, but I'm working for a smaller, it's not a small company by any means, but smaller than what I'm used to. And I joined this role in order to take the skills that I've learned over the past 5 years and really start applying them in more of a way where there's not already so much of an established process, those kinds of things. So I'm really just looking forward to settling into the role that I'm in now and seeing what value that I can add. And for years down the road, I do have that specialty cocktail business idea that I'd love to see through at one point. Yeah. Hopefully, I always say that I had the idea of cocktail in a can before it became a thing. Now everywhere you have, White Claws and all these different cocktails in a can. I swear I had that idea 10 years ago, so I'm not going to let my specialty cocktail idea go just yet. But probably, just really developing my skills. I know that I can write a good proposal, and now it's just, how do I continue to add value to the business I support in new ways?
Absolutely. Very exciting things. Looking forward to seeing what you do in the profession and continuing to follow your career, as well as hopefully seeing you open up that specialty cocktail bar. I'll definitely come and visit it.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you both so much for having me. I've seen the podcast. I've listened to it. I'm honored to be on it. I think what you both do for APMP and the proposal profession is so great. So it's just really great to be talking with you. Thank you for considering me.
Oh my gosh, Nicole. Well, thank you so much for your time. It really has been a privilege to have you with us here at Scribble Talk today. We wish you all the good health and happiness. Please continue to inspire bid and proposal industry colleagues and everyone else around you. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane.
Thank you so much. Thank you both.
Bye.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit baachuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundaram,
signing off.